moving to Castro Valley in 2021, here are 5 things you should consider.
So Castro Valley is not the Castro, a neighborhood of San Francisco. Castro Valley is relatively small. It's only about 61,000 people. It was named after Don Guillermo Castro, who was a Mexican soldier. He had a gambling habit and ultimately had to sell off 28 acres of land which is now Castro Valley, parts of Hayward, and parts of San Lorenzo. The ranching was Castro Valley's main industry well into World War II. Then it started to develop. A lot of the ranching land became subdivided and the area became more populated. All of this said, one thing you should consider before moving here is that it is unincorporated. Castro Valley has never been incorporated as a city, and neither have some of the surrounding cities that were a part of Don Castro's original land grant. So San Lorenzo, Castro Valley, and Ashland are all part of that Eden area that were never incorporated. What does that mean in terms of living there? Advantages are that you have fewer special assessments that ultimately go on your tax bill because there aren't all these local measures and ordinances that are passed by the city. You're also not funding the election of city officials. One advantage of the city not being incorporated is that you don't have to pay city transfer taxes. So that's savings and closing costs. So even though the median home price is comparable to some of the more expensive parts of the East Bay, you're not paying an additional $7,500 in closing costs that goes to the city's documentary transfer tax fund, or wherever that money goes for the city. So that's another advantage of Castro Valley being unincorporated. So one disadvantage, there's no centrally located public safety center. There's no Castro Valley Police. So it's Alameda County Sheriff's Office that serves Castro Valley, and it's the California Highway Patrol. Luckily, Castro Valley is considered, and I encourage you to do your due diligence always when it comes to crime. However, many say they feel safe when walking at night, and the Alameda County Police and the CHP are extremely responsive. Another disadvantage to not having an incorporated city, it takes longer for public works projects to be completed. There are not consistent sidewalks throughout Castro Valley. There are parts of Castro Valley that don't have pedestrian crosswalk, or they've been paved over. The painting isn't updated as frequently as it should be. A few years ago, there were a few pedestrian accidents that prompted the residents in Castro Valley to push Alameda County to make improvements to the sidewalks and to crosswalks. So 2, another thing that you should consider when moving to Castro Valley is if the school district is great. However, if you purchase a home below the 580, that home will not be zoned for the highly rated Castro Valley School District schools. The private schools in the area are also highly rated. There isn't a huge difference between the median home price now above the 580 and below the 580. Depends on which part of Castro Valley below 580 you are in, but they tend to be smaller, have less square footage. So when you calculate the price per square foot, it's actually lower above the 580.
So I just crossed underneath the 580. This is technically Castro Valley, but like I said, the schools are zoned for Hayward, even though they're in Castro Valley. But again, this is the side of Castro Valley that's not zoned for Castro Valley schools. It's zoned for Hayward schools. Do your research.
Another note, you can get away with having a San Leandro address and being zoned for Castro Valley schools. There's a small area above the 580, that's east of the 580, but above the 580 as it curves around. There are a select number of homes that are zoned for Castro Valley schools, even though they're San Leandro addresses. Because many families move here for the schools, there isn't as much turnover. So that's another consideration. Now that said, because there's not a lot of turnover, inventory has been lower historically in Castro Valley. There were only 680 homes sold last year out of a possible 20,000 units. It's not uncommon now for inventory to be tight in every city. It was interesting that in the winter for 2020, 2021, there were more homes on the market than there were the year before for Castro Valley. Still low turnover. Folks are here to raise their families. They stay longer than some families would stay in starter homes in Oakland, for example. Now, in the past 6 months, Castro Valley's median home price has gone up, just as it has in other cities in the East Bay. It's now over $1 million. You can expect that 2-bedroom, 1-bath starter homes would go for at least $750,000. Anything above that, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 plus square feet, will likely go for above $850,000. There is a BART in Castro Valley, which is convenient if you use public transportation or commuting somewhere that has a BART station near it. There's plenty of parking generally. The BART station is closer to the flatter neighborhoods. If you live out by Coal Canyon or in the hills close to Lake Chabot, you'll have to drive down, and parking there, I believe, is roughly $3 per day. If you drive, however, the traffic in the downtown area can be infuriating because Castro Valley itself is such a small town and you wouldn't expect that. But because it's in the center of major freeways, a lot of folks who are commuting on those major freeways to get back to Oakland, to get further to Dublin, Pleasanton, Livermore on their way back from work, they will use your roads in Castro Valley as shortcuts. So that creates local traffic that shouldn't be there. One last thing you should know, and that's that you don't have as many food choices in Castro Valley. It has an unusual number of fast food restaurants. There was some recent debate about a Chick-fil-A going in. It's very not Bay Area to support Chick-fil-A, just so you know. Anyway, they have Southern Comfort Cafe. There's a Thai place I really like. Love their yogurt places, their custard place. That guy's awesome. So I do have a ton more to say about Castro Valley. For now, those are 5 things you should consider before moving here. If you have suggestions for other videos in the East Bay or Bay Area, comment below. Hit the subscribe button if you want more videos like this. I have new ones coming out every week.